And we are live. Hey everyone, good day, good day, good day. So I have the honor of getting another awesome interview with another up and coming young officer, Miss Opara, I think you pronounce her last name. And I hope that you all enjoy today's discussion. I'm sure she'll correct me how to pronounce it when she comes on, but I hope you all enjoy today's discussion. So let's enjoy. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Captain Opara. Oh, Okoro, sorry.
It's Captain Okoro.
Ooh, sorry
I
about
do know some
that.
Oparas though, but I do know some Oparas, but I'm not one. It's Okoro.
You know what? My bad. You know what? I was not paying attention to the actual name. I saw the name and maybe my stomach just went another place and I was not here with you. So I apologize. All right.
It's okay.
So how are you doing, by the way?
I am doing awesome despite Koro or Corona. I'm doing great.
You got the Rona. I hope you don't have the
I
Rona.
don't have Corona. No, no, no.
Okay, okay, good deal, good deal. So, I connected with you through a mutual friend, mutual mentor of ours, Colonel Calhoun, Lieutenant Colonel
Yes.
Ebony Calhoun. And I think it's a great opportunity to have you just come and just talk with us for the time that we have. Just sharing your wealth of knowledge that I'm sure you've gained in your short 30 years of life, right? So I'm just picking at fun at you about your age because we pointed out we're both in our 30s, we're both up and coming in the public affairs field, and I want to highlight you and celebrate you and have you just use my platform and just talk about who you are, what's your background, what are the things that make drive you, and where you're going with it. So let me be quiet and talk to us. Who are you? Who is Miss Okoro?
So I'm Captain Sobeye Okoro. Some people call me Captain O, and that will be my name till November, and then it'll be Captain Long.
Hey,
Um,
congrats.
thank you. I am a transportation officer currently at the logistics career course. Um, I enlisted in the United States Navy in 2009, and then I came into the Army in 2010. Don't ask no questions how that happened. Six-year old me would still be like, that's not what I told you were going to be when you grew up. You're supposed to be in the Navy. But I have enjoyed the ride. I've actually been a loggy since I enlisted. I was an 88 November, and I came in as a 88 Alpha as an officer, and about to become a 90 Alpha.
Oh, okay.
Um,
What are those MOSs?
so 88 November is a transportation management specialist, or some people refer to them as dispatchers, but we do way more. They do way more than that. When your unit is getting ready to deploy
Hmm.
in and out of country, those 88 Novembers are the ones that help pack your equipment, load your equipment, work with the Air Force to properly load equipment, units equipment in and out of country, and also help track it. So they're the ones that make sure your RFID tags are on your containers properly.
Okay.
And they facilitate that. And then as an 88 Alpha, I'm a transportation officer, and you'll see transportation officers anywhere, honestly, but I've been in a CTC as well as I've actually had the opportunity to work at STDC.
Okay. So I know you're spitting out a lot of acronyms, and I know we have a large military audience, but there are some civilians as well who may want to know, okay, what's this, what's that? Try to put it in as layman's terms as you possibly can. Talk to us about
So a
what you do.
CTC is a composite truck company. That was where I served as a platoon leader.
Hmm.
And a composite truck company has these what I can equivalent. They're 18 wheelers, and the hex, and they use them to move the army's tanks. We also
Hmm.
have other type of military vehicles, and The composite truck company is honestly who you call on when you need to move your equipment and sometimes move your people. If you aren't capable or you don't have the enough support within your unit to move everybody. And then SDDC, which is the Surface Distribution Command. I'm missing a letter, but they are at the strategic level, but in layman's term, they are who's in charge of moving your stuff during your PCS, as well as moving equipment in and out of country, wherever the Army goes. SDDC is there.
So you said they are in charge of moving my stuff during PCS.
Well, they support it.
Uh huh. You just
They
open up a
support it.
Pandora's box a little bit,
That's why I'm like,
because I'm like, okay, what about all my stuff that's broken? Who do I
so
call?
that's not on them.
Uh
That is on
huh.
the contract that has been written. You
Okay.
know,
Good,
so
good,
those
good, good
people that
recovery.
handles the contract. The
Good
green
recovery.
suitors aren't in charge of that.
Okay, okay. So you are in a position where attention to detail, focusing, logistics, knowing, there's multiple pieces and places moving around. You are that person that's tracking all of that, essentially, right?
I was as an LT. I did that. I had a great opportunity. So, like we talked about before, I have had some people may have had a similar career path as me, but I commissioned into the reserves. So I was a reserve officer up until 2017, and then luckily I got selected for the call to active duty, and then I came on active duty. So as a second lieutenant, fresh out of BOLIC, I got an opportunity to deploy to Kuwait with SDDC and work at 595th Trans Brigade. And yes, I was the guy tracking your equipment in and out of theater at the brigade level. Anything above me, I sent that up. And that was a great opportunity because SDDC works closely with RCENT, which is the Army Service Component Command
Mm-hmm.
for CENTCOM. And so I also had the great opportunity to then go work at RCENT. And
Okay.
it was cool seeing the stuff that I was tracking being briefed up to, at the time, the commander was General Garrett, who is now the Force commander.
So you said it was cool. You did all these different things. Is that job really that fun? From what I'm hearing, a lot of military jobs. There are some that are really cool, and then there's some that's uh,
It's all about what you make it. And as we always know, it's all about the leaders that you work with and
yeah,
who you are as a person. So,
yeah.
there are people that I know, like, I don't like the sight of other people's blood personally. But there are people that are into that. And so their job is super exciting to them because that's what they love to do. That's what they have a passion for. As for me, just getting to see the things that I've seen coming from being a PFC and the stuff that I learned as a private to then seeing it being put into place as a second lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a learner. Like I like to learn new things. And so seeing the things that I've learned being put into action was great for me.
So it
And
gave
then
you it gave you an opportunity to see things from a specific and then from a general standpoint.
exactly.
You took the opportunities to learn as an opportunity instead of a job.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and like I said, I've been lucky, if you want to call it, to just always get to be in my job or in my role. And then I've had done jobs completely out of the LG realm.
Mm-hmm.
I served as the RCENT protocol officer,
What's
or
that?
protocol chief. So protocol in the Army world, when you see official dignitaries coming to a military installation,
Mm-hmm.
when you see official functions, protocol works that. So all your brigade level and battalion level, actually, battalion, brigade, and division level changes of commands or balls, your installation protocol, your division protocol is who's in charge of that, who's planning that, who's facilitating, who's providing all of the things that you, if you're tasked to plan those things, need. Protocol officer is your best friend if you ever get tasked to plan a brigade or a division ball or get tasked to plan a change of command. The protocol office is your friend. And I got the opportunity to serve in that role not only at RCENT, but also at Third ID.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So, and then again, I got the opportunity to serve as the Second Brigade PAO. So I've gotten to do things within my job and then outside of my job. And I've got to see so many different parts of the Army. And it's just been awesome to experience that because everybody doesn't get to experience the different parts and get to learn a completely different job.
Okay. So you've had the opportunity to essentially jump from being a young PFC, you said, to eventually getting to be a young officer. You're doing a lot of logistics stuff, and then you move into kind of like a hospitality types jobs or whatever it is. But it's still something that you took by the horns and you've controlled that. And this is something that's valuable, I think, in the long run. That's something that you could add on your resume. But
Yes.
you harped on one of the one jobs that you and I kind of go together in, and that is public affairs.
Yes.
Yes, but before we get into that, before we get into public affairs and talking about your job with all of that, can you talk to us about maybe your youth, how it may have your experiences in your youth may have shaped the woman that we are talking to, as far as your work ethic in the Army and all of that.
I'm a first generation American and a second generation soldier. My grandfather served in the British African Army in World War II. He served in Morocco as well as in Egypt. And a story that my mom told me is my grandfather met some of the Tuskegee Airmen, and he thought that that was like one of the coolest things because he didn't understand what the continent of Africa had to do with World War II. But to see Black soldiers from a different country, so excited to meet him, a young man from what now was Nigeria. It was something exciting. So to learn that prior to joining the Army, it kind of fueled me to be like, okay, I get to be part of something that my grandfather got to meet. So that was awesome for me. And I've said since I was 6, I always knew I wanted to serve. It just wasn't always in the capacity that I just told myself. So I had a plan, but plans change and you have to adjust and shift. I'm originally from Oakland, California. I was born in Oakland. I spent 7 years in Nigeria, living my best life. And then I came back to the States and lived in Oakland until about end of middle school, high school. Then I went to high school in North Carolina and then joined the Army. And then I had the awesome opportunity to go to the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University.
Okay.
Aggie
HBCU shout
Pride.
out.
Aggie Pride. So I've had that great opportunity to just experience different things in life and go from different class levels. So going from my mom working for one of the biggest corporate banks in Nigeria, where I had a nanny, I had drivers to take me to school, to coming here, and none of my mother's degrees counted. And now my mom was now a certified nursing assistant in a nursing home in order to provide and make sure that I had everything that I needed. And she was a single mom at the time, to now being in a blended family. And my mom's still not, still trying to ensure that she provided everything that I needed and more. Trying to figure out to make sure that I got what I needed. And I myself personally trying to make sure that I didn't put extra pressure on my mom and my stepdad. So I knew that whether I got scholarships to college or the Army or whatever, the military paid for college, that it was going to happen. And something that my mom instilled in me is that you always have to have pride in yourself and you have to believe in yourself. She was like, because I can believe in you all I want to, but if you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter, because the water that I pour on this tree won't make the other tree grow. So those African parables,
Yeah.
and I translated that to English as best as I could. So I think my mom instilled in me at an early age was that you have to be your biggest fan.
Yeah.
Nobody else can support you or push you harder than yourself. And then having outside influences and outside support can only make it better. And so that is something that she's instilled in me, and I'm trying to instill in my son.
Did we have a? You okay?
Yes, give me 2 seconds. My computer is telling me
It's
that
all
it
right.
wants to die. Hold on one
Let me
second.
shift. I shift.
Okay.
Okay. So until she comes back, so I know we've had a few questions and a few comments coming in already, and we're going to share that with Miss Oporo. So she, from what I'm hearing from her up to now, she comes from a family of fighters. She's a very hard-working woman, and what we're going to go into next, as far as questions that I have planned for her, are we're going to talk about her public affairs background, how exactly fulfilling a potential new career that she's going into. And I think she's going to manage pretty well with that. She's already transitioned very well from being a young enlisted soldier to a young officer to now essentially jumping into a brand new field. So what we're going to go and talk about now, it's really about her public affairs career, and I hope you enjoy it. So I
I'm
know you're back.
back. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. What I talked about to everyone while we had a single screen is I'm going to have you just share with us about your background, shifting essentially careers within, your MOS identities, identifiers or whatever, talking about how, your youth kind of shaped the person that we are talking to right now, and where you're going to go essentially with your new career. Because I think you've got the guts for it. I think you've got the willpower of it, and now it's just a matter now of embracing this new career. So tell me, Miss Okoro. I keep pronouncing Oporo. Why am I saying that?
You probably know somebody. Somebody
I
is is talking about you, as they say, and that's why you're saying their name.
That's probably what it is. But talk to us about where you see yourself going now with this new career that you potentially may be getting into.
So I'm still an LG officer, and I'm hoping for a great opportunity to take command. I will be here at the Great Fort Lee for my follow-on assignment, so
Hmm.
I'm super excited about that. From what I'm tracking, I will take an AIT command, and that's something that I really wanted because coming from being prior service. The opportunity to be a part of a soldier's process for me is exciting because if I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it if this is what they really want to do.
Hmm.
So that's really why I want it to be either basic training or AIT company commander, because even though I know they say, oh, as a company commander in TRADOC, you don't have that much time with them, but I feel
Hmm.
like those company commanders are the first examples of leadership and officers that new soldiers see. So if I can influence somebody to stay in the Army for 20 years or do ROTC, just one person, just from being an example and talking to them and making them feel like they're important, I feel like that's part of what a leader is supposed to do. So that is what I'm super excited about. And then when the opportunity comes, I would love to transition easily into the PAO sector. But they say you make plans and
Yeah.
God bless. So hopefully
Typically,
I just want to do a really great job at my next job.
yeah.
And but I have had the great opportunity, like I said, I served as the brigade PAO for second APCT at third ID,
Hmm.
and I had a great boss. And that is something that as a young officer, as an officer in general, but
Hmm.
as a young officer doing a job that's completely outside of your realm, having a boss that completely supports you makes your job so much easier. I got the great opportunity to work for Colonel Scott O'Neill. And he was just one of those leaders that he genuinely listened. He genuinely listened to your ideas and took them into consideration and let you lead. And if he saw you were kind of going off the rails, then he pull you back in. And honestly, I've been super lucky to have leaders like that throughout my whole career. As a company XO, my company commander, Captain, well, excuse me, soon to be Major Jennifer Jackson, gave me that same opportunity to be at XO to lead. And then when she saw that I was going off the rails, she pulled me back in and was like, hey, that's kind of not my intent. So let's war game this, look back over it, and let's go back to and realign and reshift and remain focused. So I've had those opportunities at different levels with different level leaders showing me like, hey, I genuinely care about you. I genuinely care about your career. I'm going to give you the opportunity to lead. And if I see that you're going in a way that I don't think you should, then I'm going to pull you back in. And some people haven't had that opportunity. And I don't take that for granted, because I have friends that got out the Army early because they just felt that they didn't have the support, didn't have the leadership that I've had. And that's why I say mentors are super, super duper important.
So let me ask you something. Because, yeah, we could talk about all the positive, situations that may occur to a young officer or a young up and coming worker in the civilian world. But there are going to be situations where you're going to have bosses who aren't there to really support you. They're only there to check the block. How do you navigate around a potential negative situation, or how do you navigate around a new job that you have no idea how to do, but that boss or that supervisor is not really the helpful type? How do you navigate around that?
So I learned this. Well, I got this piece of advice as a second lieutenant. Was that have a mentor for kind of every aspect of your life, or somebody that emulates every aspect of your life. So for the last 7 years of my career, I've been a single mom. So I have a mentor who's a single mother, Colonel Wendy Rivers. And so when I have questions about, okay, how do I navigate this as a mom and still ensure that I provide as much support and what's necessary for my child, I reach out to her. And so I think sometimes you may not get the support in that immediate room or the immediate job. Then you as a leader, if this is something you want to do, and I know some people will be like, well, why you say this, but I'm going to say, then you go out and you find somebody that can help you.
Okay, let me ask them. Do you only have one mentor? And
No.
okay, so talk to us about getting a mentor that may not look like you, or someone who may be out of your realm and field. What about those situations?
So Colonel Rivers is not an LG officer. She's actually a signal officer. Colonel Calhoun is a PAO. When I met her, I was still a trans officer, still on the LG path. I do have LG mentors who are awesome. I actually have a couple of sergeant majors that I shoot emails to all the time. Technically, I outrank them, but I reach out to them all the time. And then one of my first mentors, unofficial mentors, was a female officer that didn't look like me. She took me under her wing. I reached out to her after actually being here at Fort Lee at Bolick. She said she left her card for all of the LTs. And she said, if you ever have a question of how to navigate this and how to figure stuff out, send me an email, shoot me a text. And I thought she wasn't serious. And I shot her a text and I got a response. And within 2 weeks, I had an office call. And she didn't look like me. And she actually helped me with an opportunity that I just didn't expect to get. And then I have male mentors as well that I reach out to. And everybody doesn't have to be a mentor. You can have big brothers or big sisters. Like the Big Brother, Big Sister program, I think honestly works in all aspects of life. People that you can just genuinely reach out to in any aspect of your career, of your life. And they're not officially a mentor, but you can bounce things off of them. You can quote unquote war game certain situations and just learn from them and learn from their experiences, and you build that relationship with them.
Okay.
But I
So,
think I have a mentor for like almost every aspect of my life, to be honest with you. I'm not even going to lie.
and that's excellent. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the comments that's coming in, because this is part of our discussion. You know, we're talking left and right, but we've got people who are coming in and saying things in support of you. So let's go ahead and read some of the comments that are coming in. Uh, we got uh, Major Retired Ford. How you doing, ma'am? She said, "Hey, following." We've got Miss Natasha Hines. Do you know her?
Yes, I do.
Okay, okay. She said, Ronetta Jones, if your daughter is available, please ask her to watch this interview. We're going to talk about that, how you may actually be a motivating factor or a mentor to, or an inspiration to a few young women or men who may be looking at our interview. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We've got what's going on, Eric Littlejohn. Hey, I went to OBC with him back in back in 2009. Yeah, we're old. We're old. We're old. We're real old. It's all good though. It's all good. And he I think he tagged Colonel Wendy Rivers is the best. Exactly. All right. So he's got a question. He said, "What about the mentors who don't look like us in color? Have you found trouble or gaps in relating?"
Um, yes and no. So I actually thought about this as I got ready for this. I had the opportunity to work with a Caucasian female officer, and she actually. So we had we would every like 3 months I would have an office call with her. Great leader, super awesome. And one of the things that I kind of felt like we just didn't see eye to eye about is just like certain things about being the fact that and I told her this, and she came back to me like at our next talk, and she realized, she said, yeah, I do realize that. I told her, I was like, as a white female, you can have a bad day. You can be upset. You could be a little bit aggressive, but if I do it, then I come off with ABW,
Oh,
which is angry black woman syndrome.
interesting.
And or if I have a bad day and I come into the room and I don't talk. Why are you so angry? Why are you so upset? And then different things as being seen as aggressive is a good thing for a male officer, whether he's black or white. But being seen as aggressive, especially as a black female, is not what you want to be. And so that is something that she was like, she had to think about that. And then she said, you know what, you're right. I never noticed that until you said it and you pointed it out. But it doesn't mean that they can't relate or they can't have a conversation or they can't help you. One of my former bosses, my battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel, his name, it starts with a D, it's escaping me. But while I was at Arcent, that West Point picture came out and so during our senior rater counseling, I asked him his opinion of it. And he said he didn't think that they were doing anything wrong. And he understood that there are battles that he himself wouldn't go through. And something that he told me that I feel that as a leader that I've put in my toolkit is that disagreement does not automatically equate disrespect. So just because you disagree with me does not mean you disrespect me, or does not mean that you're not going to follow me. You just don't agree with me. And then if you don't agree with me, or you don't agree with how I'm trying to do something, you need to give me a solution for what you have now seen as a problem. But you still kind of got to do what I told you to do, as long as it's within ethical and moral and legal rights. But there are ways for you to go about saying, hey, sir, I don't really agree with this and I'm going to do it. But have you thought about maybe this or that? And he was like, if I'm the smartest one in the room, then why do you have a job? And that's something that I've learned. And he didn't look like me. But Sometimes I think that we as African American officers are scared to approach non African American officers, just because of maybe past experiences, life
Yeah.
experiences, and what we see out in society. But there are some that genuinely want to be approachable and genuinely want to serve in that position as being a mentor or a leader that you can reach up to or reach out to.
I'm lucky that even as a civilian right now, I have a great boss. His name is Major Charles Wyatt, and I don't know if he's checking out our discussion today, but he is, he is a breath of fresh air because he never made me feel lesser than, and he always welcomed me to imagine and think and create on my own. He never made
Oh
me
wow.
feel like my points of views were not of value. And that's what I think, honestly, is what a lot of folks are looking for and searching for and yearning for. They
Mm-hmm.
don't want to feel like, okay, um, I am a young black officer, I'm a young Hispanic officer, I'm a young Asian officer, and I'm not going to be considered seriously simply because of the color of my skin or whatever. But I am thankful also that, military allows many of those walls that may be up there in general society to be broken down.
Yeah.
Military allows us to have those connections across race and border lines as well. So I'm really thankful for that. But we've got another question coming up, and it's coming from Eric again. Eric, thanks for the questions. He said, so how would you sell mentorship from those who don't look like you? AAO, more, especially those from HBCUs, are very apprehensive. How would you do that?
I don't agree with him. I am a graduate of a HBCU, and I learned mentorship at North Carolina A&T. My PMS, my last 2 years at A&T, went to South Carolina State. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Donald Prelude. His wife is a lieutenant colonel now, Lakeitha Prelude,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought graduates of our university back to our school to talk to us. And mentorship and many of the other HBCU grads that I know, we say the same thing, is that one of the things that we share in common across the board as HBCU grads
Mm-hmm.
is that mentorship and networking was instilled in us from the time we were MS1s or freshmen or sophomores in ROTC. That's what an
He
MS1 or two.
It looks like he got a quick follow up. He said, bottom line up front, how are you selling a culture of seeking diverse mentorship to your young Aggies?
Okay, so I tell them the same thing. Find a mentor that does not look like you. There are senior leaders that. I'm thinking about this joke that Colonel O'Neill said, is that I'm a 6'4" tall, bald white man. I'm not trying to mentor 6'4" tall, bald white men.
Yeah.
I want diverse mentees. I want diversity around me, so that not only are you learning from me, I'm learning from you.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to think about. And you have to realize that everybody, though, especially yes, I guess I think I get where he's coming from being in an HBCU where everybody pretty much looks like you,
Mm-hmm.
to now being in the big army and there are a lot of people that don't look like you. Navigating that, when you have mentors that come from all walks of life, they can help you better navigate. But there's nothing wrong with having mentors that do look like you.
Yeah.
It's just you relate a little bit better. You relate a little bit
Mm-hmm.
different.
Got
Um,
you. I
and
would
that,
say, here's the thing that I would say. I would say mentorship and leadership should not be a monolith.
I agree.
When I say a monolith, I don't mean like, the same, you know, personality, the same look, the same demographics. I mean, we should embrace leadership in any language or any face, any gender, any race that it comes in. Because
Yeah.
with a multilingual face of leadership, that makes you a stronger organization overall. Because say for instance now you're one organization and everyone looks the same, everyone thinks the same, everyone is the same. And that enemy sees, okay, since everything's the same, I could attack this person on all five of these different assets. But
Yeah.
now, say for instance, now you have five different languages, faces, races, or whatever. That enemy can't attack that same way with different,
Different
different
people.
locations. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's strength in diversity. There's always strength in diversity, and that's something that we, I'm sure you and I both agree with. But let's go into the inspiration that you may be having right now to a young lady, a young officer, male, female, black or white. What are some of the words of advice that you could give them coming from, maybe they're prior enlisted and they want to come up the ranks? What are some of the words of advice you could offer to them?
Um, don't doubt yourself and don't let other people doubt you.
Yeah.
Your background can honestly only make you stronger. Um, I haven't shared this with you, but some people that do know, I am a sharp survivor. As a sophomore at A&T on my way back from the library, I was sexually assaulted. It took me 6 years before I said anything. Um, and the reason why I even said anything is because I had a great sharp rep at Arcent that made me feel comfortable with talking about it. But that did not deter me from making sure that I did what I needed to do to become who I needed to become. And I took my power back. So, and when I did share, I learned that there were several senior leaders that 25, 30 years have still not spoken their truth. So you can't let the bad in your life define you. You can't let the obstacles that other people put up or you may put up for yourself define you. Something that I shared on the page a couple of days ago with another LT was she was like, well, how do you navigate, when people automatically assume that you're aggressive? And something that I've learned is that I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So if I'm frustrated or I'm upset, most likely you're going to see it on my face. And it's a really hard thing not to, because depending on, again, the boss that you work for, they can take it in the wrong way. So something that I've learned to do is, compose myself, ask to be, if I could be excused, and whether I need to go in the bathroom and say some words or say some prayers or whatever, and gather my thoughts back. If it's something that I need to be back at, I will, compose myself, go back, handle what I need to handle. And then later on, whether it's within myself or with a senior leader that I trust, kind of war game how to now handle the situation going further. And then something else is that if you want to do it and you believe that you can, don't let anybody, it doesn't matter what their rank is, tell you can't. Because something that I have said to a couple of AAOs that I did not agree with is that promotion comes from above. So regardless if you like me or not, if I do my job, I do it well, I take care of soldiers, I'm going to get promoted, and I do the right jobs, I'm going to get promoted, and what's meant for me is mine. So you can say no, but that closed door may have been closed for a reason. And never quit on yourself, because once you quit on yourself, that's what makes it easy for everybody else to quit on you.
Yes.
So that these are some things that I have learned over time. I'm not perfect. I'm still learning. I still, like I said, I still get the text messages like, good and well, you shouldn't have said that, or maybe you shouldn't have posted that. But in some, I used to get frustrated and be like, I'm about to delete all of y'all. I'm about to have another Facebook, or I'm just not going to say anything. And I've learned that there are people that genuinely care about me and my well-being and my career. So if they didn't say anything, they wouldn't care. And then those that don't care, I don't worry about. But those that I know care, those that I know that have invested the time in me, invested their name and their reputations on me, are those that are willing to take a chance on the little angry girl from Oakland, California,
Yeah.
And what's funny?
What's funny is that's kind of matching a little bit of what I say to myself mentally. I don't say it out loud, but I have a saying of, how dare I be mediocre? How dare I, you know, try to half ass something? There's no
Hmm.
way. No. With all of the strain and strife that my family and I had to go through for me to now lay up something, I better slam dunk that opportunity. You better run with it.
Exactly. And that's something I'm teaching my son is, and like I said, you have to be your biggest motivation.
Mm-hmm.
I tell myself positive words of affirmation, and I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, every day I'm excited to go to work,
Yeah.
because sometimes we have bad days. Sometimes you're frustrated. Sometimes you may be like, is this really what I want to be doing with my life?
Mm-hmm.
you know but then I remind myself that this is a step on the way up to what I'm trying to do. And
Yeah.
I also, something that some people may not agree with me, but something that retired Colonel Rod Edge said to me, and it sticks with me and I remember it, is that you're not going to be in the Army forever. So make sure that you're making decisions that not only are good for you right now, but are good for you when you're out of the Army, because your kid is going to remember certain things. Now, there are some
Yes.
things that you're just going to have to miss and you got to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have to miss certain things for your family, and you can be there, and you can, either you work later on one day so that you don't miss something, then do that, because you're not going to be in the Army forever. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that I think some leaders forget, is that when you take off that uniform, there's somebody there to replace you. Unfortunately,
Oh, yes. Yes.
whether people like it or not, there's going to be somebody there to replace you. So you want to make sure, yes, when you leave an impact. But the reality is, you may leave and then leave an organization, and then 2 years later there are all new people, so nobody's going to remember you. So who you're actually leaving the impact on is the people that work with you and
Mm-hmm.
work for you, um, so that they go on and they take the things that you've taught them to their next organization and teach that to somebody else, and that your name is the name that they're saying when they have opportunities like this, or they're counseling or mentoring a young soldier or young officer.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you have to make decisions for every aspect of your life outside of the Army.
Yes.
And don't feel bad when you get to the point where you're like, you know what, maybe it's time for me to take the uniform off. I'm not at that point, but I've told friends of mine that if you really feel like it's time, it's best for you to get out, because you don't want to be miserable at work every day, because then you're going to make other people miserable.
Yeah.
And then that's going to lead to something you don't want. So I just feel that, and another thing is, learn when to be patient but not passive.
Mm.
And I say patience is that, diversity is great and wonderful, but we still get what, yes, we're 1%, but we get 1% of all aspects of our society.
Yeah.
So being patient is that sometimes you learn that there are people that I had a soldier that I was the first Black female that he'd ever met in real life. I was for another soldier. I was the first Black female in a leadership position
Yep.
that he'd ever met.
These things happen. These
And these
things
things
happen.
happen, and I had to be patient
Yeah.
because they weren't used to that. And then I was in an authoritative position. I was the one making the decisions, and for them, you don't make decisions. So I had to learn to be patient, but not being passive and saying, oh, you know what, you can get away with. No, I'm just being patient with you. And then sometimes you have to be patient but not passive with your bosses as well, because again, though we're just the 1% of the American population,
Yeah.
but we get 1% of every aspect of the American population.
So we've got another question that's coming in, and I'd like to then, I guess, close off our discussion. But the question comes in from Miss Natasha Hines, and she says, "How do you manage being a mom, an officer, an entrepreneur, and how has COVID-19 impacted each of these areas in your life?"
So, COVID-19 has made me realize that patience is really not my best quality and made me remember why I did not become a history education major while at school.
Hmm.
Because, according to my son, I am not a good teacher. I'm not patient. I'll be like, why don't you get this? This is simple. But being a mom and an officer, it honestly has been, I'm not going to say it's been a struggle. I've had to learn how to balance it all. And then being an entrepreneur, being the fact that I'm a blogger and then my son does YouTube, learning how to kind of like carve out time for all aspects of that, carve out time to spend with my child. And, you know, like I said, I've been lucky in a lot of my positions that I've had great bosses that have been
Hmm.
like, hey, CDC closes at 1800, and didn't you say they charge $1 every minute you're late? You need to go. I've had a boss that ended up being the person, one of the pickups. Like, hey, you need to finish this. I'm gonna go grab Darrion. Had an extra car seat in her car just for my kid to make sure that I was able to handle deadlines that needed to be met. And then carving out time for again the extra things that I want to do outside of the Army, whether it be my blog, whether it be YouTube, all of those things. I will say, in a way, COVID has also allowed me
I'm
the
still here, by the way.
extra. Yeah,
The
I
camera
figured.
just deactivated, but I'm still here.
Um, COVID has given me an opportunity to get to spend more time with my son, even though I'm still in class and I still have Zoom calls and I still have requirements that I need to do. We're still in the same room. And if he needs help, he can still ask me. He gets to see me more. We get to go outside more. I'm not tired at the end of the day from a long day of work. I'm able to also work on my blog a little bit more. And knock out stuff while I'm doing work. I'm able to, get a feel of the things that I need to, so that when we return to some form of normal, I've worked on balancing things, but it
Hmm.
takes time. You know, I have 11 years in the Army. There are some people that have 27 years and they still trying to figure it all out. And I
Yep.
don't have it figured out, to say the least. I just have a great support system um, that helps me when I'm slacking in something. They help me pick up the ball, and that's what I'm really. And I have mentors like retired Major Hines that I can reach. I'm like, how did you navigate this? Like,
Hmm.
how did you do this? Again, like I said, Colonel Rivers, Lieutenant Colonel Natasha Clark, you interviewed her husband, just kind of bouncing things off of people and asking for help. And that's something that I want a lot of people to know. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Hmm.
Now, I will say this: you can't ask everybody for help because there are some people that genuinely do not have your best interest at heart. There are some people that come off as, oh, I'm this person. They drop all their titles, and in all reality, they don't genuinely care about you. So when
Yep.
you find somebody that genuinely cares about you, they're going to support you and help you in all aspects of your life. Um, Colonel Pritchard Brown Upgrove, new last name. I've bounced so much stuff off of her. I've bounced so much stuff off of Colonel Herman J. Johnson. Like, all leaders in different aspects who have come from different walks of life. My big brother, Lieutenant Colonel Benefaku, like I ask him questions all the time. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll go find somebody that does.
Excellent.
And so just trying to balance it all out, but not being afraid to say, I need help.
Yeah.
Not being afraid to say, I'm frustrated. Not being able to say, I don't know how to do this.
Okay.
Because
Well,
I'll pick up the phone real quick and be like, I don't know what to do.
that is something I would think. Not unfortunately, not a lot of folks are willing to admit that they go through that. Hey, I'm not really knowledgeable in this situation or that situation, but I'm not going to reach out for help because it'll make me look weak or it'll make me look less than deserving, et cetera, et cetera. And people have got to realize the actual outer looking in knowledge and wisdom of accepting your shortcomings and being willful to actually reach out and get that help is actually a good thing.
Yes. And I think sometimes people are scared based on certain interactions they've had on social media with certain people
Yeah,
who have made them feel like it's not okay to ask for help, or you're less than,
yeah.
or, oh, I'm going to. And honestly, I will say sometimes there are certain people in certain social media groups that are just trolls. That's the reality of it. And I've just learned that when that person is trolling me, I just okay, I'm gonna pull back and not say anything to you because you're not the person that I want to talk to anyway. But some people and some people that look like us make it hard. They make you feel like you should. How dare you ask for help? Like
Yeah.
I paved the way for you. It's all done. You don't need to ask for help for nothing. And that's not the reality.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And speaking of trolling, I think my camera is maybe trolling me because as soon as things start getting nice, it wants to start working again. So we've got one more question coming in. It's from Mr. Fred Baskin. What's going on, Fred? He says, "Hello. How do you feel? What do you feel is the greatest challenge for you as a young officer, especially with when trying to develop your wisdom for who you want to be as you develop your leadership style and potentially establish your legacy?"
Um, I will say the biggest challenge that I've had is for me personally is that I kind of have a short fuse. Not in that I'm just gonna blow up on you. It's just that I don't take being disrespected or humiliated very easily. And it's not that I don't take criticism. There's criticism, and then when you're trying to humiliate me.
Yeah.
And so I don't take that very well. And I've learned that a lot of times there are some leaders that that's how they lead. They feel like they need to make an example out of you or make an example out of somebody in the room. And I'm that guy that if you humiliate me, then I got some, and I have a smart mouth. I'm working on
Ooh,
it.
buddy.
Those that know me, those are my mentors that know me. Like sometimes, as my mom would say, I'll twist your mouth real quick. Stop it, quiet. I have a smart mouth, and so, and then when you're a leader and your soldiers are about the same age as you, and having a smart mouth back, that doesn't show that you're in charge. So that's something within myself that I'm working on, and I'm getting better. And not always feeling like I have to have the last word. And that's in all aspects of my life, whether it's being an Army officer, whether it's being somebody's wife, not feeling like I need to always have the last word or the last say. And then in trying to, something that I know is I want to be the leader that I didn't see in some occasions. I want to be the leader that, okay, you're trying to be an officer, cool. This is what you need to do. And this is what I need to do to support you to do that. And this is how I need to facilitate you. Okay, you're a single mom and daycare is a problem. Okay, let's sit down and let's talk about this family care plan. Because I had a leader do that with me. Let's talk about this family care plan. Okay, let's talk about daycare. Let's talk about what we can do as a unit to help and facilitate you. Because I have had some leaders kind of brush me off because I'm like, I need to go pick my kid up from daycare. And that's not an excuse. And, yes, you do need to have a family care plan. But sometimes I think we rush soldiers and leaders through the family care plan process, and we don't really explain everything to them. We don't explain everything to what these things are for and what they're not for, what they cover and what they don't cover. So I want to be that leader that soldiers feel like she may be a little hard sometimes, but she cares. She's not going to please everybody, but she's going to try to please everybody that, as many people as she can and still accomplish the mission. And she's not going to try to, I don't want my soldiers going home tired every night because we were BSing on some stuff that could have been handled, could have been organized better, it could have been planned. I want soldiers to feel like I provide them opportunities, whether it's to go to school, whether it's to be with your family, whether it's to, go participate in something that you want to participate on post or even in the community. I want to be that leader that sometimes I or some of my friends may have not seen. And so in trying to establish like my legacy, I feel like something that I've said is that I want to be the woman that my son wants to be able to bring home to me. So I want to be the representation that he feels like, okay, she cares about people, she's doing her job and doing it well, and
Hmm.
she's a good leader. Can I bring her home to my mom? I want to be the woman that, I guess I want to set the standard for my son. So that, because for me, yes, being an army officer is part of who I am and part of it's what I do. It's my career and I do love it, but he's my legacy. And so he's my representation. And when I take that uniform off and they say, fair soldier, you've done well, I want my son to be able to feel like I've
Yes.
done well and I represented him, and he can, because that's my legacy and the children that I have to come. I want to be their representation.
Well, excellent, excellently summarized. And I want to just offer, I guess, some words of advice that I learned from when I was a senior medic enlisted guy, and then when I was a platoon leader slash, XO or whatever from whatever companies I've been part of. Soldiers, well, here's the saying: it is, people don't remember what you did to them, but they do remember how you made them feel. And if people, remember or have that warm feeling when they think of you, you've done a good job. So, speaking of a good job, I just want to say, Captain Okoro, we had a really good time and you did a great job talking with me today. So, I just want to give you, a little bit of time, um, a little bit of time to just share, whatever it is that you got going on, and let us know some. Before we go there, we got some comments coming in, some very funny comments. Let me share that with you. From Mr. Little John, he said, "Otis, you were a terrible LT."
Ask
Hey
him, has it
man,
been a hater all his life or just since he met you?
hey man, hey brother Little John, you wildin'. I remember you were an absolutely hilarious guy when we went to OBC. I'm glad that you still could put a smile on people's faces and everything. So shout out to you, man. I hope you're doing really good at where you're at. And Fred said, as a follow up to your comment, that was excellent. You
Thank
you
you.
you did excellent. So talk to us about what you got going on, and so I could go off and do my thing now. What about you?
So I am finishing up career course. So if you ever at the Fort Lee area, look me up. I'm here. I also am a blogger, as Major Hines brought up. So if you ever want to read some of my blogs, my website is, and it's funny, but it's Shady Auntie Kalechi, KELECHI.com, and I blog about different pieces that I wear, like this jacket I have on. You'll see soon. And then my son is a YouTuber. So if you're looking for a book review, just look up Darrion T. He's kind of mad at me because we gotta release some new episodes, so I gotta
Hmm.
get on that. And so he's on YouTube, and that's it. And I'm just trying to be the great person that I'm working on. And so hopefully, maybe some of you who have upcoming soldiers, I might be their commander soon.
Okay, okay. Well, shout out to you, Captain Okoro. Thank you for coming and talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, sis.
Bye.
So that was an excellent discussion there with Captain Okoro. I really enjoyed. It was kind of like a very blunt, very direct, very real discussion about things that she has gone through, struggles that she may be dealing with, personality things that she may or may not want to work on. And I think, this is one of the more raw, more real discussions. And I really appreciate that type of discussion. So, as I always say in parting, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of others. Bye now.